Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1716A, and today's date is November 14th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Bringing the Central Bank to Its Knees, Use Transparency. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about the patriots that are fighting for our country. Every generation seems to have its own president. Each seems to define an era. Our generation will have Donald Trump as their president. He was the one who took a shattered and broken Washington swamp and drained it. He will be remembered as the president who stood up to the deep state. This holiday season, Noble Gold is offering the solid silver Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. You've probably seen the website, TrumpCoin2020.com. Since they minted this coin back in July, Noble Gold has sold thousands of these beautiful coins as collector items for investments, and even to add to IRAs and 401k rollovers. Yes, because these are 0.999% fine silver. The IRS even allows them to be included in your retirement fund. How about that? And today, there's a holiday special offer on right now. To find out what it is and how you can get a hold of a special gift for your favorite Trump supporter, go to TrumpCoin2020.com and put the code X22 to receive free shipping if you buy 3 coins or more. Don't wait for this offer to end. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and don't forget the offer code X22. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, something very interesting is happening as Trump and the Patriots are pushing their agenda to bring down the central bank system, to destroy the central bank global economy, and prepare the United States for a transition. Now, each country is going to have to prepare on their own. Many countries are already doing this. Many countries are siding with Russia, China, making deals with oil, making deals with many other things. And what we see happening right now, those countries that are still stuck in the central bank deep state system, who believe that they're going to be okay and the deep state, the central bank, they're going to be taken care of, and the plan is still to move the system over, restart it, well, it's not going to work out for them. And what's very interesting is that we can see what is happening to the global economy as Trump, the Patriots, push their plan. Remember, placing tariffs, deregulating, removing taxes, this is all about bringing everything back to the United States. The central bankers, the deep state, they've been working for a very long time to move everything out of the United States with all of these different regulations, taxes, and whatnot. Everything is being rolled back. But what we see happening here as everything is being rolled back, and Trump is out there saying, listen, we need an even playing field, because he knows and the others know that when the central bank system comes down, the United States will no longer have the advantage that it has now. The advantage is that all countries keep the dollar in reserves and they use it to pay for oil. And this is not going to be so when we transition. A lot of things are going to change. But as we're going through this, and they're trying to bring back, and they have been bringing back, and they're going to be bringing back even more here to the United States, countries are getting hurt. I mean, Germany, France, China, maybe not, because they have other plans. But many of the European countries, they are definitely going to get hurt because of this plan. A lot of these countries are still in line with, yes, the central bank, the EU, where they have a completely different agenda. And we're starting to see what is happening to these countries as Trump, the Patriots, push the plan, where he's implementing tariffs and changing a lot of different things here. Now, out in Germany and throughout the EU, we see growth is starting to shrink. And we talked about this before, and it might even go negative. And right now in Germany, their growth is shrinking. This is the first time in 3 years. And car production is collapsing. Remember, a lot of the cars are sold here in United States and China, and it is collapsing right now. So right now, their GDP print is the worst they've seen. And their economy contracted by 0.2% in the third quarter. Now, of course, the Bundesbank and The rest, they're saying, oh no, this is just a one-off thing. It's nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be fine. And the ECB, they're out there saying, listen, we're still on track to do what we got to do. We're going to be raising interest rates late next year, and we're going to stop the stimulus. Well, we know this is not going to happen. Yes, maybe they'll have a one-off where they'll raise the interest rate just a little bit, and then everything will fall apart. Right now, the EU, they are in zero or negative territory with interest rates. And their economies, Italy, France, France right now is 10% unemployment. Of course, if you factor in everything else, it's probably closer to like 18%. Italy's having a problem. Germany's having a problem. These countries are going to have many, many problems as we move forward. Here in the United States, we can see we have many problems here already. Yes, we're able to manipulate the numbers. Yes, we have the central bank where we can continually borrow like there's no tomorrow. Countries in the EU, they have a little bit harder time borrowing because they have to make the case. They have to, push austerity on the people. It's a little different than having the central bank right here in the United States where we'd say, all right, we need to borrow this much. So we see here in the United States, a lot of things are starting to fall apart. Forget about the statistical numbers. We know that retail is absolutely awful. The brick and mortar stores, they are doing terribly. And it's because people, they just don't have the extra funds to go out and purchase. Yes, they can use credit cards. Yes, with the new FICO scores, people are going to be getting new credit cards. We might see a little bump up of retail, but it's not going to last. This is not a fix. But of course, they're going to make it seem like this is a fix. But what's very interesting about a lot of these stores, the brick and mortar stores, and no, all their sales are not moving to online and everything is fine. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. A lot of these stores are using tricks to make it look like sales at their stores are doing a lot better. Actually, Macy's is one of them. So Macy's reported third quarter earnings this morning. It made a big deal out of the same store sales increase, showing a 3.1% year-over-year increase. It was the first line in its report, comparable sales. It calls them wisely, leaving store out of the term. Why would they leave store out of the term if they're talking about same store sales? Well, let's take a look and see why. Their overall net sales rose 2.3% in the third quarter compared to the same quarter last year. This rate of growth was just under the rate of consumer price inflation of 2.5%. So it's not a lot to write home about. As all major retailers, Macy's divides sales into two categories: sales at its brick and mortar stores and digital sales. Makes sense. But this is the part that we need to all know about. When Macy's claimed in the first line of its report comparable sales growth of 3.1% on an owned basis, 3.3% on an owned plus license basis, its comparable sales, as it calls them wisely, include all online sales. And what they're showing here is that the brick and mortar stores with online sales, they are doing okay. That's where they're getting this number. They're actually tricking everyone. These numbers are not same store sales. These numbers include all its online sales. So they're combining everything to make it look like retail in the brick and mortar stores are doing much better than they really are. And all they're doing is taking the poor sales on brick and mortar and the halfway decent sales on online sales and combining them. It's one big illusion. And this is why we don't see today all the sales that were happening in brick and mortar moving all over to online sales. It's just not happening. Out in the housing market, we see mortgage applications, they decreased by 3.2% from a week earlier. And it's getting worse and worse as we move along. Actually, Home Depot right now, and we all know this, they're the biggest home improvement chain in the United States. And they're saying that U.S. home sales right now, they are slowing. They're noticing there are problems. So they're saying that there are signs right now that housing demand is slowing. And they're saying the mortgage rates, as they climb higher, well, it's going to hurt purchasing power. So we have D.R. Horton, Lennar, and many of the other large home builders. They're also saying the same exact thing. Here we are, everyone. We're starting to see a complete and utter breakdown of the system. And there are many signs that the U.S. economy is starting to slow down. Now remember, Trump, the Patriots, they knew that this was going to happen. They know that this is an illusion. They know that this is not a real economy. Why are they out there saying the economy is doing fantastically? Well, one is to keep the mainstream media and the deep state off balance. How do you attack someone on the economy when it's doing well? Very difficult to do. They can't say, hey, these are all manipulated numbers, because Trump, all he has to do is say, hey, I'm using the same numbers Obama did. So you're saying he faked it too? They're not going to do it. While he's telling everyone that this is fantastic, in the background, they're working on the transition plan. They're working to bring back manufacturers. They're working to transition us into a completely different system than what we're in today, and that is a central bank system. But there are so many signs that the economy is falling apart, and it's actually accelerating. We saw these signs way back during Obama, but now you can really see what is happening here. So the first sign is when economic activity is rising. Demand for oil increases and oil prices tend to go up. But when economic activity is slowing down, demand for oil diminishes and oil prices tend to go down. This is why what is happening to the price of oil right now is so alarming. U.S. oil prices plummeted by 7% to a one-year low of $55.69 a barrel. It was crude's worst day since September of 2015. The loss in the oil world have been staggering as worries deepen about excess supply. Crude is down 12 straight days, the longest losing streak since the future trading began in March 1983. So we're also seeing, and this is from a new poll, it found that only 13% of Americans plan to buy a home in the next year. That number has fallen for 3 quarters in a row, and it is now down by almost half over the last 12 months. As the market dries up, the inventory of unsold homes is absolutely soaring nationwide. With that in mind, it comes as no surprise that inventory countrywide soared by 86% among single-family homes and 188% among condos in October compared to a year prior. According to a newly published data by the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, it was the most massive year-over-year increase on record dating back to the dot-com bust. And the big question is the housing industry about to go bust? Yes. I mean, California, they once had the hottest housing market in the entire nation, but now home prices in the state are plummeting like it was 2008. According to Bank of America, a survey that they do, global fund managers are the most bearish that they have been since the financial crisis of 2008. The retail apocalypse right now is accelerating. Things are going so poorly for some mall operators that they are handing over their keys to lenders even before leases end. A new study discovered that 62% of all U.S. jobs do not currently pay enough to support a middle-class lifestyle. Most Americans barely have any financial cushion at all. According to a recent survey, 58% of all Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. Right now, more than half of all U.S. children are living in a household that receive financial assistance from the federal government. As the economy slows down, an increasing number of Americans are being forced into the streets. More than 500,000 Americans are currently homeless, and that number is growing with each passing day. When you're in a central bank system, it is not meant to make the playing field even so everyone could prosper. What happens is, over time, the upper class and the lower class and the middle class is kind of destroyed. They separate, and the wealth flows to the top. And the rest of the people, they're destroyed. And we've seen this throughout history, and this is when people rebel. And what we're seeing right now is this entire system is falling apart. And the central banks, they're going to be stuck. There's no way out for them. And the only way to show who's responsible for all of this is transparency. What do I mean by this? It means we're going to have to look at what the central bank has been up to over the many, many years. Because when the global economic system falls apart, the people will demand transparency. They will want to know why. What happened here? Why is there so much debt? Why couldn't the economy keep going? Who is responsible for all this? Well, it wasn't an event. It wasn't Trump. The economy was doing fine under him. Who was to blame? The central bank. Well, let's see what they've been doing, because we haven't had an audit since 1913. There's never been an audit. We have no clue what they're doing. I mean, we can speculate, but we really don't know exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, where they're funneling money. We have no clue. And we don't know if they're corrupt. We don't know if they committed crimes. We have no idea. Of course, the central bank, they're above the law. Q has already told us this. Q has already pointed to the central bank and many, many, many other central banks that are controlled by the Rothschilds. Q wouldn't have mentioned these if it wasn't in the cards to go after them. It is not time right now, but the clock is ticking down. And once you start to remove certain key players, and once you set the plan in motion to bring the system down, and make sure that all fingers are pointing to the central bank, you will have an opportunity to go ahead and push an audit through so the people can see what really is going on in the central bank. Once we have transparency, transparency will bring down the central bank, because they will not know how to explain what they've done in the past and why they did it and who is involved. This is their biggest fear. Why do you think they continually stopped the audit for hundreds of years? Their fear is being audited, finding out what they're really doing. And I'm going to say, it's probably a lot worse than we think. So we know we're headed towards a transition, and everyone needs to be ready and prepared for this, because it is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.